and you know him as T. Rich. People who collected his card know him as Tony Richardson. And from what I gather, the word on the street is he's still blocking for you today in the grocery aisle. When you're going down, you got to get what you got to get. But Tony Richardson, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. It was it's always great to catch up with my buddy Priest. We've had some great times together, shared a lot of moments. We used to break bread at my house every Thursday night. So Priest taught us how to cook and do everything else.
Oh, yeah. You taught him to cook? Wait, hold on. You haven't told me about this.
Well, T. Rich knows a little bit more about this story here. It was something, of course, that was handed down to me from Ernest Biner during my first couple of years with the Baltimore Ravens. He told me, there's a difference between just a NFL football player. There's a professional football player as well. You got to learn how to watch film. You got to be able to bring your group together of running backs and be all on the same page. So I kind of learned that early in my career. And then once I got to Kansas City, I talked to T. Rich about it, and he was on board, and T. Rich, of course, he had the big mansion and had the opportunity to have the pool table, the game room, the video room, all the special necessities that you need, coming into the league. And we had a chance to bring all the running backs over there and had a great time. I think, T. Rich, do you remember some of those days, man? What was the best part about it, man? Do you even remember the restaurant that we would go to?
How did I not remember? We had Jack Stack, so we did barbecue.
Nice.
No, it was amazing because even funny enough, because our quarterback Trent Green lived not too far, so Trent sometimes would stop down, and it was interesting because once a lot of the other groups on the team found out what we were doing, they all wanted to kind of come by. We're like, listen, man, this is for the running backs, and it was a good time, and it was a bonding because everyone always asked me like, who was your favorite running back to block for? And I said, Priest. I said, because the way we sat and watched film together, I knew exactly where Priest was. I knew what he was thinking. I knew how he was going to set the blocks up. I knew the things that we had kind of talked about, because all of a sudden it was like, people were like, man, how'd you guys break all those big runs? It was like, we broke those big runs on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We got to the game on Sunday. Everything kind of fell in place because we were fortunate to have a great offensive line and the best blocking tight end in the NFL and Jason Dunn. So yeah, we had something special going.
What were some of the nuances? I just talked about the tight ends just recently. So Tony Gonzalez and Jason Dunn, we called one the catching tight end, and then we had one that was the true blocking tight end. You mentioned Jason Dunn, man. What was special about Jason Dunn that you remember?
To tell you the truth, Priest, I tell people all the time, it's like, before JD actually, before he hurt his knee, JD was probably arguably on schedule to be one of the best overall tight ends in the National Football League. But then he hurt his knee and it kind of slowed him down a little bit. But I think the biggest thing is like literally JD could have played. I mean, he could have been a primary target as a tight end, but he could have played offensive line. Like he had just an innate ability. Once he got his hands on you, it was pretty much over. And now the biggest thing we had to do was just get JD to practice on time and get him on the game on time.
Oh no!
But once he got there, I mean, he made our whole. Literally, we couldn't have been as successful as we were in the running game and nor in the passing game if it wasn't for JD. Because we kind of built everything around the skill set that what he brought to the table.
So you talked about JD being on time. Was there another player that you can think of that if it wasn't JD coming in right before the game was about to start, there was probably another running back that you knew. Don't worry about if he's gonna be there. He's gonna be there, but just don't be waiting on him.
Hey, that was the biggest thing. We just worried about who's he gonna get there. That was once he got there, he was ready to roll. But we had a number 27 that we had to get him to the game. Once we got him to the game, got him to practice, everything else was good. And then the key thing is we always have running back night on Thursday. On Friday morning, we had to do a roll call to make sure that somebody made it back in from the Thursday night charades down on the plaza. But now we had a good group.
Yeah. So Mark, what he's talking about is that we would have the Thursday night running back. It would be an hour where we would watch film, and then also the first hour we'd kind of hang out, eat barbecue, talk about each other, what each other did wrong or whatever they did right. But after that, most guys like myself, that I would say, hey, I'm going to be a professional running back. I'm going home, right, to get ready for the next day of practice. Well, we've got some younger guys, like Larry Johnson and a few of the other ones that felt like that was the time that they needed to escape and enjoy themselves, So T. Rich, they would go out and have a bunch of fun. And that's that roll call we talked about to make sure these guys were staggering in the next morning and making sure they got into the steam room.
Hey, Priest, we remember because we always knew what kind of night it was going to be based on how they came dressed. So if they, like if the guys came in like sweats and like flip flops, like okay, cool, everybody going home tonight. But if they came in, they had that G Unit shirt on,
That's
and
right,
the chains, and smelling good. We're like, yeah, it's gonna be a long night for somebody.
We're
Yeah,
just
they're going
watching
out.
film. We're just watching film. Nobody can even see you. But
Yeah, for sure. They were, hey, Scott, it was pre-gaming.
that's so funny. So, okay, so you guys kind of had to be watchdogs a little bit too, and make
Yes.
sure
Yeah.
they got there in time. So, you know, when you get to the level you guys were at and you're pro like that, and you do see youngsters come in, you know, what's the biggest advice you give them right out of the gate? Like Tony, you've blocked for so many stud running backs, but when you'd first meet them, what was the first thing you like to say to your new running backs that you're going to be blocking to and you're blocking for?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that, as Priest mentioned, is that, and I had a great running back coach early in my career, Jimmy Ray, and just understanding that, he always used to call us a pro. He would like pro, 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 and then all of a sudden, you just kind of, as the years went on, you just started understanding that it's a difference between being a football player and being a professional. Being a professional, this is your job and this is your livelihood, and not only is it your livelihood and your job, but there's a lot of other people that are counting on you. And so it's one of those things you just have to, and I get it, we understand, because Priest and I were kind of cut from the same cloth, coming from a military background. So we kind of understand that, we understood that structure and all that kind of stuff. And we understood, like, and I get it. And when you're young, you want to go out, you want to enjoy yourself, you want to enjoy your career, but also realize how fast it goes by, and understanding that in a blink of an eye, it could be over. And so, one thing that we always just want to try to, impress on our group, because everyone's counting on you, and we were playing at such a high level that if you missed the blocking assignment, if you didn't know what you were doing, or if you came in late, then it really affected the entire group. So we were just trying to teach guys how to be true professionals, both on and off the football field.
Well, I'm glad you brought up your background a little bit, because I want to turn on the Wayback Machine, because you have a little bit of a unique situation where you were dipping in and out of the U.S. You were in Germany most of your childhood, right? So can you talk on that? Both what came out of that was positive, and also what was limiting when it came to that, because you kind of were a late bloomer when it came to football, right? It wasn't until high school
Yeah,
it kicked in for
definitely.
you.
So my dad served in the military 32 years, Vietnam veteran, Purple Heart. So it was kind of interesting because, first 2 years I was in Germany, then we moved to El Paso, Texas for 3, back to Germany for 3, Fort Knox, Kentucky for 3, back to Germany for 3, and then finally Alabama. I think there's pluses and minuses. I think the minus is the fact that I have zero childhood friends, like zero. Like, I don't have not one person that I can recall from my childhood that I actually grew up with, or I don't remember a teacher. I don't really remember a school, because we were always moving every 2 to 3 years. So that part is kind of difficult, because there was no social media. There was no, it wasn't even MySpace. There was no Instagram, Twitter, where you wouldn't be able to keep up with people, and, different things like that. So that was kind of a negative. But I think a positive is that it really taught me, like, how to adapt and how to culturally, understand different people and different backgrounds. Because when you're in a military family, as Priest will attest, the only thing we really have in common is the fact that our parents were in the military. And so we were just in a big melting pot. And so all of a sudden, every 2 to 3 years, I had to reintroduce myself. Hey, my name is Tony Richardson. I just moved from here. So every time I walk into the room, I always felt like if I walk into a room with 100 people, at the end of the night, I'm probably going to have 20 people that I've really bonded with, just because that was my whole life of having to readjust and, really learn how to fit in and all those kind of things. So I think it helped me tremendously, and just understanding, like, like, I think growing up as a kid, I guess I never really got a chance to understand and see color, just because everyone in the military is just black, there's white, there's Asian, there's Hispanic, and we were a bunch of kids in a melting pot. So finally when I get to Alabama, that's when I first realized that I was different from everyone else. And they were looking at me like, here's this kid listening to AC/DC, Metallica, Kiss, with holes in his knees, talking about Rally Dude. And they were like, man, who this dude right here speaking German? So that was an adjustment. And so, yeah, that was kind of when I first started playing football. Was like my 10th grade year in high school. And it was kind of the thing that, one of my buddies was like, hey, man, you should come out for the football team. And I was looking at these football pads like I didn't know what was going on. But it was one of the first times that someone actually invited me to do something. And that's kind of how I got my first entry into football.
Yeah. So T Rich, you touched on two particular things. And one of them I wanted to just say, I've got two younger daughters, 13 and 15. They're both homeschooling. And so one of the things that I can kind of relate to when you're talking about not having those friends is sometimes even with homeschooling, it's difficult that they're not seeing their friends on a daily basis. So I've had a chance to get our kids involved in like swimming. They go to the YMCA. They have times where they can break out with their friends. And I know that is very important to growing up.
Breaking news from Bet365. New customers, Priest, $5. You just bet that and you can get $200 in bonus bets. Win or lose. So sign up, place a bet for $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Win or lose.
Bonus bets can be used on the spread, player props, futures, and so much more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia. Or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 21 plus only. 18 plus in Kentucky. Please gamble responsibly, and you must be present in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, and Kentucky, as well as Louisiana and select parishes. Maryland, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia. $10 minimum deposit required. Terms and conditions apply. In-app only.
This has been a Playmaker production.